This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the May 7th, 2025 South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I will call this meeting to order. This time I would ask you to all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the Township website for public access. At this time, I would ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. One other announcement. The Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session to discuss legal and personnel matters on April 21st and also prior to tonight's meeting. Agenda item 4 is courtesy of the floor. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to address the board? Is there anyone online with a public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on to agenda item 5, presentations. The first is agenda item 5A. Police Week is May 11th through the 17th, and our Administrative Assistant Tracy has prepared a proclamation that I would like to read this evening. The South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledges May 11th through the 17th, 2025 as National Police Week, originally established in 1962 by President John F. Kennedy as a week to honor and recognize the service of all law enforcement officers and the important work they do. Whereas South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners would like to express their gratitude to all its law enforcement officers, both past and present, for their dedication and service to South Whitehall Township. South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners recognizes the efforts of the South Whitehall Township Police Department for building good, strong relationships within our diverse and vibrant community and adhering to the highest professional law enforcement standards in order to meet the challenges of reducing crime and keeping its residents and businesses safe. The Board of Commissioners encourages all residents and businesses alike to join in this mission to show appreciation and gratitude for the men and women who courageously protect this great community, keeping all who live, work, and play here safe. This is resolved and signed by the Board of Commissioners. Our community thanks you for your service. And it is a momentous occasion this evening. We had the honor of having the Honorable Judge Anna Christie Marks with us this evening for the swearing in of South Whitehall Township's Chief of Police, Frank J. Lombardo. I have a memo prepared by our Township Manager just to review a little bit of housekeeping for the benefit of the public. As the elected governing body of South Whitehall Township, the Board of Commissioners are directly responsible for public safety oversight of the community and the appointment of the Chief of Police of South Whitehall Township Police Department. One of the most critical roles within the township is that of Chief of Police. Chief Frank Lombardo was appointed to the position of Chief during the March 5th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. The Honorable Anna Christie Marks, Judge of the Court of Common Pleas, is in attendance this evening to formally swear in Chief Lombardo. recognizing that he has officially completed all necessary requirements to serve as a sworn law enforcement officer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The oath of office is a requirement of the first-class Township Code and represents the Chief of Police's pledge to uphold the constitutions of the United States, the Commonwealth, the laws of Pennsylvania, and the ordinances of South Whitehall Township. The oath of office is a formal attestation of the Chief of Police to enforce the laws with integrity, with impartiality, and to lead the department with professionalism, accountability, and a commitment to exemplary and equitable public service. The Board of Commissioners congratulate Chief Lombardo on this significant accomplishment, and we look forward to your continued professionalism, leadership, and expertise in guiding the South Whitehall Township Police Department. At this time, Judge Marks, if you would please administer the oath to our new chief.
President Kelly, I will be honest.
My family club, Judge?
Yes. Who do we have here?
We have my daughter Rebecca, my mom, my wife Donna, my daughter Hannah, my son Matthew.
Nice to meet you all. All right, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Frank J. Lombardo,
I, Frank J. Lombardo,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the ordinances of South Whitehall Township.
and the ordinances of South Whitehall Township.
That I will discharge the duties
That I would discharge the duties
of Police Chief of South Whitehall Township
of Police Chief of South Whitehall Township
with fidelity,
without prejudice,
without prejudice, by obeying, enforcing, and upholding
by obeying, enforcing, and upholding
the law
the law
without consideration
without consideration
to any person's race,
to any person's race,
color, sex,
color, sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation, age, national origin, ancestry, handicap, or disability. Congratulations. You're welcome.
If the board would please step down to take a photo with Chief.
Congratulations.
Chief, hey, Tom. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Everybody's named Tom here. Yeah, if you don't mind, I have to say Tom. Here, come on up. We'll do pictures after. Or do you want to do them up here? Okay, you guys are good? Okay. I don't like pictures either. I just want to welcome everyone here tonight for the promotion ceremony of Sergeant Alex Torres and the public swearing in of your new chief, me. The timing for this event could not be better, as next week is Police Week, like Diane said, where we honor those officers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. It's also a time to remind ourselves that this thing that we do is bigger than any one of us. It's truly a nationwide and even international endeavor. Take, for example, my journey to be your chief began during a conversation on the train between Dublin and Belfast, where I connected with two PA chiefs on a leadership trip. We were there to learn from the Ireland National Police, the Garda, and the Police Service of Northern Ireland, the PSNI. I never thought that my path to Lehigh County would begin that way. Approaching our profession with perspectives from outside of ourselves is critical to our success because it keeps us well-informed, efficient, and importantly, safer. This is important to me because I'm a street cop at heart and always will be. The decisions that I make, while for the organization, will always be guided by my time on the street, which brought every type of experience a police officer could have. That's the thing about what we do. On every shift, we're called to go locations that we've never been, to interact with people we've never met, to solve problems we didn't create, and make split-second decisions with incomplete information. Throughout my leadership journey, I've always considered that officer alone on midnights, on a weekend, with backup too far away, who must fend for themselves for those precious minutes until backup arrives. I'll always think of the job that way. It is our job as supervisors to make sure that you have the equipment, training, and staffing to do just that. Because when you get to the next level, as Alex is about to tonight, your responsibility shifts. It's not about you anymore. Every sergeant I promoted all the way, that was my first speech to them. It's not about you anymore, because it's easy to get wrapped up in what you want with your career. It's not about you taking charge, but rather taking care of those in your charge. This is the very kind of leadership I've witnessed over and over again in this police department. Supervisors here care about their people. They lead them, they hold them accountable, and they build them up when they need them. The leadership team here, Steve and the Erics, have built a culture of respect, ownership, and responsibility. They've pushed me, challenged me, they're smiling, and reminded me that leadership is not a journey in a vacuum, but should be tailored to the agency, township, and people you work with. I've learned as much from the three of you than I've learned in my whole career, I would say. Having had a career-long tactical and training background, I can say that tactical training and officer safety here is the best I've ever seen. This has been championed by an agency full of ERT personnel and military veterans, many with combat experience. The CID, they weave the officer safety mission into everything they do. And I appreciate that deeply because that's what I did my entire career. The CID detectives are also a continuous source of excellence under the guidance of Sergeant Shout, as I have observed them for the relentless pursuit of cases leading to significant arrests like the one we had last week. That was a great grab by Tyler. And lastly, having worked closely with both SROs and community policing for most of my career, Sergeant Grozier and his crew are taking great care of our school community. Theirs is a journey of continuous partnership, and it's an ongoing conversation. I'm really blessed to be part of this organization. My South Brunswick officers came downstairs with me and they were like, wow. So just the humble, it's not just my assessment, it's theirs too. I also want to thank the Lehigh County Chiefs. I see Mike, who I've leaned on for support in the last couple months. I could not have done it without you. I'm grateful to the other chiefs in the room, a few of whom I've known since before we were cops, and to my National Academy classmates. Your outpouring of support from around the country has been unmatched. You guys embody the wide reach of policing and the network we rely on. So if I have a question at all, I send an email. 220 of them from across the country will weigh in on what. Now, we ask that they don't reply all, because sometimes they do that, but it has been a great network. I also want to thank my lifelong friends from South Brunswick Township Police, together with whom we built the foundation upon which I achieved this goal. During my time there, I witnessed these officers do incredible things, whether on the street, in a refrigerator, GMO. We had a knife fight in a fridge, it's a long story. In people's homes or in a muddy field on a cold February day where we all faced our worst fear together. Those of you who took the ride along with me know it was not an easy one, with numerous obstacles, both personal and professional. But everybody in the room has faced adversity, and you know that sometimes that's exactly what you need to become successful. I have a quote in my office downstairs. I've kept it with me the last probably 10 years, and it's from the founder of Ironman, John Collins, and it says, "You can quit and no one will care, but you'll always know." Finally, to Alex, come on up. As you assume the role of sergeant, remember that our officers need to know that their leaders care and have their best interest in mind. Know that while you should hold your officers to a high standard, they should be treated fairly, transparently, with integrity. To be successful, put them first, push them to do their best, and back them up when they need it most. Alex, just to give you background on him, is an almost 7-year veteran of the South Whitehall Township Police Department. He's a bike patrol officer, field training officer, defensive tactics instructor, use of force instructor, and an expert pretty much in officer safety and development. He's basically our department Leatherman tool. But more than that, he's achieved the highest praise a cop could get from his colleagues around the county, and my family will know this. They all said, Alex is a good dude, and cops don't generally say that lightly. The most recent example of this occurred a couple weeks ago when I was honored to be part of donations to Lehigh Valley Cedar Crest Hospital, where he, with the help of Lori, Melissa, and command staff, gave back to the hospital units, which helped his family in their time of need. The 2 nurses in my family, my wife and my daughter, will appreciate that. Along the way, we met about a dozen nurses to thank them. So with that, I'll turn you over to Judge Marks, who'll do your swearing in. Congratulations. Okay, yeah.
All I
Yeah.
did was that I was swearing you in.
Yeah, okay.
But if you want me to.
Yeah, no, okay.
White pen?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
White pen's on the shirt, bro?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's hard for us every day. It's not as easy as it looks, I promise. Yeah.
I'm just going to pick a roll to cite the South Whitehall officers up here. My phone is going to fill out. Come on, Steve.
It's right over here.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank all. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Northeast, south, and west, baby. Every day.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thanks.
Okay, continuing on. Thank you all for your patience. We do have a resolution to read. We congratulate Sergeant Torres in your new role. So I would ask, well, we just need a motion. Do I need to read it?
I don't know where to stand or what to do with my hands.
Let me bring this up just a moment.
With the completion of our civil service testing for promotions being completed, we are now requesting the Board of Commissioners issue a resolution to promote Alex Torres to the rank of sergeant.
Very good, thank you. Is there any comment from the board before we go for a vote? Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve this promotion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Sergeant.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Agenda item 5D, the March 2025 financial review. Tom, if you have any.
Yeah, so I get to follow that with the financial report, which is very exciting. But it's only as of March year to date, so the numbers aren't really fleshed out. But you know, we're noting that a lot of line items were actually coming in under, you know, for the projects that we're working on. Some were a little over, some are under, but overall we're on pace to be within the parameters of our budget as we have been the last several years now.
Fantastic, thank you. And thank you to staff for keeping us apprised of the status of the budget.
Yep.
Agenda item 6A are the meeting minutes from the April 16th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. Any comments or questions? Need a motion to approve? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item 7A, we have an ordinance of the Township of South Whitehall, County of Lehigh, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 336, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, General Parking Regulations of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township to amend Section 33641, handicap parking zones, to provide for the removal of the handicap parking zone located at the location address of 2441 Lisa Lane, and to provide for severability, retention of rights to enforce, repealer, and effective date. And Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. So the ordinance for your consideration of adoption this evening is, as noted, an amendment to Chapter 336, Article 4, specifically for concerning handicap parking spaces. This one, 2441 Lisa Lane. So the resident actually requested we remove it. It's no longer necessary. So the ordinance was previously considered by the board for advertisement during the March 19th Board of Commissioners meeting. The public notice was advertised in the April 16th, 17th edition of the Lehigh Valley Press, and the ordinance was also sent to the Lehigh County Law Library. So it is ready for adoption if the board is so inclined.
Very good. Are there any board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 7B, we have an ordinance of the Township of South Whitehall, County of Lehigh, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Part 2, General Legislation of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township to provide for a new chapter to establish requirements and related procedures for applications for liquor license transfers located in South Whitehall Township in accordance with the Pennsylvania Liquor Code, and providing for a repealer clause, severability clause, and effective date. And Tom, if you'd present.
Thank you. So the Pennsylvania Liquor Code mandates that municipalities such as South Whitehall consider intermunicipal transfers of liquor licenses when the ratio of existing restaurant liquor licenses and eating place retail dispenser licenses in the receiving municipality equals or exceeds one license per 3,000 inhabitants. So upon review of township records, and we did have a liquor license transfer last year, you know, we've identified a need for a structured process for the review of such applications and to ensure that all relevant associated costs of the transfers are collected. So we're proposing an addition of a new chapter 145 to the codified ordinances. So the key components of the ordinance are as follows. So application requirements and submission procedures for liquor license transfers. fee structures to cover administrative and procedural costs, public hearing and advertisement requirements, decision-making criteria to evaluate the impact on the welfare, health, peace, and morals of the township, timeline and conditions under which the Board of Commissioners will issue approvals or denials, and the confirmation that a public hearing is required and will be scheduled upon receipt of an administratively complete application with notice provided in accordance with the Pennsylvania Liquor Code and applicable laws. You wouldn't be setting the fees this evening. That would be a subsequent amendment to the schedule of fees if the board adopts this ordinance following advertisement. But we're recommending either a $750 application fee to be imposed, as well as a requirement to pay the actual stenographer costs to the township, or a flat $1,000 fee. So we'll make a final recommendation on that at the appropriate time. And we'll come back with the required resolution to amend the schedule of fees. But this evening, I would ask for a motion to advertise the draft ordinance following any other legal comments rendered by the solicitor. And then we can move forward with the ordinance.
Very good, Tom. Thank you to staff for preparing this for the board's consideration. I certainly am in agreement with the review process that is structured. Does the board have any comments or questions on this draft?
I just have a question. It's not really an important detail, but I'm curious. I'm looking at section 145-1, item number 10D, seating capacity. Does that need to be clarified in any way? Does that include outdoor seating capacity, or is it mostly, is it indoor the way it's intended? Or?
I believe, without researching for that further, I believe it encompasses any areas where liquor would be served, where they could sit and consume alcohol. That's how that's construed under the liquor code. So it's not a zoning seating capacity per se, but more looked at in terms of where you would, to reconcile how many people would be able to consume alcohol and where it's designated in the facilities.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8A, we have a resolution extending conditional offer of employment for entry-level position of patrol officer in the Township's Police Department to applicants number 89375 and number 86181, conditioned upon the individual satisfactorily completing the background investigation, polygraph examination, medical examination, and psychological examination to confirm their fitness for duty. And I'll ask Captain Brown to please present.
Yes, Commissioners, this is just the next two on the civil service for entry level. The last two that we had when we started doing their backgrounds, they decided to withdraw from the process. So these will be the next two up.
Very good, thank you. Any board comments?
Yeah, I was wondering, I just thought we approved two. No, that explains, thank you.
Yep.
I just,
Any other comments? Any public comment? I need a motion to approve said motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Captain Brown. Agenda item 8B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township authorizing the township manager to execute an agreement with UGI Utilities Incorporated, providing for a cost-sharing arrangement in exchange for the township's completion of road restoration work. I'll ask Director of Operations Herb Bender to please present.
Thank you. Administration is looking to move forward with the cost share agreement with UGI. UGI has completed utility work on various roads within the township as outlined in Exhibit 1 of the agreement. In coordination with the township, a cost share agreement has been prepared to cover the scope of work that will be performed. The proposed cost share agreement with UGI reflects the township's portion of the expense related to the roadway restoration and improvements following UGI's infrastructure upgrades. The total cost share amount is $170,030. So the action we're requesting is a resolution allowing the township manager to take the necessary steps to ensure the agreement is executed on behalf of the Board of Commissioners.
Very good. Thank you, Herb. Does the board have any comments or questions?
I have a question.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, you jumped in.
So this is basically, instead of them hiring a private contractor, they're going to be hiring South Whitehall to pave the work that they did to get the road back to.
Yeah, how we work this out is normally on a lot of these roads, they would only be required to do a half mill and overlay. How the cost share works is we pay for the milling, they pay for all the material from curb to curb, and then the township forces lay the material.
Excellent.
Oh, and my question is, those roads that were listed, when will that begin? When will the milling commence?
A lot of this work is already completed last year. They didn't think they were going to get as far as they did, so they just continued right into it, knowing they would want to do the cost share for these roads that are actually completed last year already.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent. Any other board comments or any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to approve said motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 8C, we have a resolution approving the use of septic in order to satisfy Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection requirement regarding the Rue subdivision. I'll ask our MS4 Utility Coordinator, Mike Elias, to present.
Good evening. The Rue subdivision is located at 2442 Huckleberry Road between Joseph Circle and Mylinda Lane on the south side of Huckleberry Road. The project is for the construction of 4 new residential homes. This project will be served by South Whitehall Township Water, but each of the 4 properties will be served by private septic. Since the project does not connect to South Whitehall Township Sewer, no allocation is required. The Township alternate SEO has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance with state and local regs. So Public Works is requesting a resolution for Township staff to execute the application to DEP.
Very good, thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions?
Yeah, actually, this came to the board as a land development plan and was approved. So this is just application and paperwork for sewage.
Okay. Make motion.
Hold on, any public comment first? None. Do we have a motion, a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mike. Agenda item 8D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Bowman Consulting Group Limited to prepare traffic calming concepts for Whitehall Avenue. I'll ask Long Range Planner Chris Stroller to present.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. So we adopted the transportation plan last month, and this is an effort to move forward on some of that. Whitehall Avenue on the eastern end of the township is one of the key north-south routes in our proposed active transportation network. It was identified in the plan as one of those areas that could be a great connection. It was also the southern section of Whitehall Avenue was submitted last year as a resident traffic calming request. This is one that we have been moving forward on, and last year we, through PennDOT Connects, we looked at a technical assist to look at what traffic calming options could be there. We received a number of potential concepts. We've exhausted all of the resources that we have as township staff to essentially look at how those concepts get implemented. So the request here is for additional concept design and preliminary engineering for the Whitehall Avenue section, essentially from Pennsylvania Avenue north to Huckleberry. And that is that's that north-south corridor. Also in the transportation plan, we identified 3 intersections in there, including one of them at Huckleberry and Whitehall of one of the catalytic projects. There were 3 catalytic projects in the transportation plan, this one being right at the school, looking at better intersection improvements for some pedestrian use there. Pennsylvania Avenue and Whitehall being a very complicated intersection, 5 roads coming together, very wide, lots of pavement, and then another intersection up by Route 22. So we are requesting, we have a proposal from Bowman, the consultant who worked with us on the transportation plan, to design a further concept and actually lay out what that essentially the intersections could look like, what the corridor connections could be, whether that's bike lanes, how those are laid out, and the potential traffic calming options, which fit right in with some of the active transportation connections we're hoping to make there. We are requesting a resolution from the board to authorize the township manager to execute the agreement for $10,000 with Bowman to conduct this work. Once this is laid out, we will take these concepts back to the neighborhood group that's involved with the traffic calming request, get their buy-in from this, and then bring it back to the Board of Commissioners with those finalized concepts. Part of the challenge here is we're looking at potentially putting in some of these on a temporary basis to test them and see how they work if it addresses some of the traffic calming issues. But we need a little bit more design to see, even for the Public Works Department, to determine how to install some of those temporary measures.
Very good. Thank you for that comprehensive description and for your memo. Very informative. Does the board have any comments or questions? I think this is a great step forward to move on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with, because you have, when starting at Pennsylvania going north, it is a very wide street, and it narrows considerably till you get to Huckleberry. So I'll wait to see how they're going to solve those issues, because it's very, because of that stretch of land is not, it's not just, it's so different.
Exactly. Out of the tech assist that we received, there were some good concepts there, but because of the nature of the roadway and being so different along the stretch, we really need it all laid out. So we're going to have sort of an aerial view of this with some of those intersections in a concept cross section that then we can see what the measurements actually are. I think there's certainly things that'll probably be applicable on the southern end that then we'll have to shrink down on the northern end, but we want to have this consistent corridor there as far as facilitation of movement for bicycles, pedestrians, and so forth, in addition to the key traffic calming elements.
And this is for two plans, two different plans. They're going to present two different plans. Is it?
Two different concepts, correct, yes. And part of that is for the approval of the neighborhood group.
I would just add on to that and echo Chris's comments. This is an entirely different animal than Trexler Boulevard or any of the other sort of traffic calming projects we've undertaken in the past. So I'll be very interested to see how and if they can bring some help to the corridor. So thank you both.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of the process, but once this plan is presented to the neighborhood groups and to the board, is this something that potentially we could look to acquire grants to help with necessary infrastructure to help with?
Yeah, this is a unique situation where we have so many priorities for the township in one corridor, and addressing it through this concept gives us a little bit more emphasis for potential grant application. There's certainly applicability for the transportation alternative set-asides that opens up this summer, or the DCD or PennDOT multimodal program.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Is there any public comment? Anyone online? Yes, if you please come up to the podium. And this is a virtual meeting, so there is a microphone there that is already turned on. If you just give your name and address for the record.
Sakia Talbert, 1140 North 30th Street. For the traffic calming, are you just looking at bike lanes, or are you also looking at adding sidewalks in those areas?
It's a good question. We'll certainly explore both. The southern end, we have a lot of width that we can go through. Once you get north of 22, it gets pretty tough.
Thanks. Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment? Is there anyone online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 8E, we have a resolution appointing Barry Islet and Associates as the floodplain ordinance reviewer inspector for South Whitehall Township. And Chris, if you'd please present.
Yes, thank you. Very simply, the township requires permits for any work conducted in the floodplain. Typically, these are non-residential based on the floodplain that we have, so they're usually part of larger land developments. But we do have a series of residential floodplain permits that come in every so often. For many years, our long-term planner, Greg Adams, was the one who handled the floodplain review, and Greg had gone through much more extensive training from floodplain administration and through FEMA and FEMA training. Since Greg's retirement, that has been taken over by the community development staff. We have looked into more training for staff to handle this in the permitting world. We've looked into what's called a certified floodplain manager, which is a great way to look at administering these types of floodplain ordinances. The timing and cost for staff to do that seem to outweigh what we have right now. So Barry Isett and Associates is our residential inspector for UCC compliance already. Barry Isett also has qualified staff, including certified floodplain managers and other staff who is going through that training. So the request here is to appoint Barry Isett and Associates as the township's third-party floodplain reviewer as a technical resource that we as staff can send permits to for additional review. Again, they come in maybe one a year from a residential standpoint, and we don't anticipate that many. The fee for Barry Isett's floodplain review is $120 an hour, and their existing fee schedule for 2025. We have been looking at as far as staff and the applicability of all this. We don't anticipate needing to adjust the fee schedule as of right now. We believe that we can cover this cost if it comes up underneath the existing fees that are required for floodplain review.
Very good. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I do. You don't do this kind of work, Tony?
So I didn't specifically have conversations with Chris, but I think what the difference is if a land development project comes in
right,
that has a basin or berms or lots within the floodplain, that would still fall under a land development application, go through the FEMA process, go through our review, and do stormwater management. I think these specific permits and what we spoke about is my basement's underneath the floodplain and I want to put an electrical box in. What do I need to do? And there's specific code for insulation, and it's more of like a residential building code official that goes into houses that does this, rather than more of like a land development thing that we would review. So normally the BCO, the building code official, is the one that handles the specific electric or the specific insulation or if you put a shed, you have to put some foundations in. That's more of like a.
What about the commercial end of this?
I think the same token. So if a commercial building has electrical boxes or anything like that in the floodplain, there's a commercial inspector that would do that work.
But that's Kiko's as of right now, correct?
Is it?
So there's very few instances that we have commercial that is not part of a larger land development. And in this case, it would be Barry Isett who would handle just the floodplain ordinance compliance piece of that.
This is for residential only, correct?
And it may say that the need is for the residential. As Tony mentioned, I should have specified it more. Every time we have a project come in, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't need additional review. It's something handled by staff, or it's coming in as a land development, which is handled and reviewed by PIDCOG. This is for a few instances.
Okay. What happens if Barry is not our inspector anymore for residential? Then who would do it?
We could revisit it at the same time. The intent is, and I believe the way that we would look at this is to appoint them annually as we do with every other inspector.
All right. That's all I had.
Very good. Thank you. Any other board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
Make motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 8F, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Michael Baker International to assist with the preparation of the South Whitehall Historic Resources Inventory Report. And Chris, if you'd please present.
Thank you. We presented the historic resource draft report outline, I believe, back in December. This is something that has been sitting with the township. Dave and I have been very excited about this, but to be very blunt, we have a lot of projects moving at this time, and the resource inventory is one of those that we are hoping to get over the finish line. The request here is to hire Michael Baker International, their professional services contract, who, if you recall, Michael Baker was the one who helped us with the South Whitehall Landscapes Plan. And the idea here is for Michael Baker to take all of the content that we have developed and with Jeff Marshall, our historic consultant, put it all together in that final product and get something ready for adoption in June.
Very good. That was my question. It'll be next month sometime.
It'll definitely be sooner.
Quick timeline. Very good. I know that you guys are very busy, but
the other piece of this is designating historic resources becomes part of the Jordan Valley overlay potentially. So it's something that we want to get ahead of that portion of it.
I think that's very important.
So that's part of the push for this.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Does the board have any comments or questions? Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 9, motions. 9A, we have a motion to proceed with stormwater improvements proposed by developer applicant for Crackersport Road and Eck Road warehouses. And Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. So separate from the required public improvements originally set forth in the subdivision improvements agreement for this project, which was originally recorded on June 9th, 2020, and subsequently amended and extended 4 times with a current completion date of all public improvements on or before June 30th. The applicant developer for the Crackersport Road and Eck Road warehouses land development project is proposing to install certain identified stormwater improvements at its sole expense within the public right-of-way in the vicinity of 1273 Eck Road. The applicant developer has determined that the installation of these improvements is necessary and prudent. The proposed stormwater improvements are more fully identified within the enclosed plans that was included in the packet tonight, with the project name, drainage improvements, drawing title, height property, drainage plan, drawing number CG201 as prepared by Langen Engineering and Environmental Services, LLC. The last revision date is February 12, 2025. Township engineer, the Pidcock Company, has reviewed and determined that there is no engineering objection to their proposal. And we note as township staff, the street excavation ordinance is not applicable to this project. So if the board is so inclined, we seek a motion to authorize the developer QR Allentown DC LLC, formerly known as IPT Allentown DC LLC, to proceed with proposed stormwater improvements that are located entirely in the public right-of-way that are more fully identified and described within the enclosed plans as labeled and identified this evening.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. The developer's team is here. If you'd please come up and present this evening. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Julie Wagner-Burkhart, and I represent the applicant. Thank you, Tom, for giving a very good introduction for what we are proposing this evening. I'm going to turn the mic over to Fidel Gonzalez of Langen, who can kind of just explain what exists there today and what we're proposing.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Fidel Gonzalez with Langen Engineering. As far as the back history of the project, there used to be a sharp curve within Eck Road that the developer had taken out by the redesign of Eck Road. And you can see on Eck Road, there's a series of inlets and piping. So that was part of the approved plan. But then we had met with both the township and the property owner, and the property owner indicated that there was more runoff or runoff was problematic for him. So what we had done is we had proposed a series of additional 4 inlets that were within the right of way, and proposed some berms in order to direct things to those inlets, with the whole goal of reducing the runoff that he was indicating was problematic. That went to the township engineer for review, and we went back and forth until the plan was approved.
Very good. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions for the applicant's team or on this project? Is there any public comment? Yes. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Brian Height, 1273 Eck Road. I realize this is just an agenda item for you, but this is my life. This is my home. And the past 5 years have been unacceptable. I know some in this room have told me to my face that I keep asking for stuff. Well, you know what I didn't ask for is my property to be flooded constantly. This past weekend yesterday would have been a great day for a site visit for anybody who'd been out there. We're talking $100,000 in damages and fees and handling stuff, which equals to me basically handing them $54 a day for the last 5 years. This is where we're at. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm even more exhausted living it, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it too, but here we are. I was hoping to have some of these questions that I'm going to propose answered at the on-site meeting that was scheduled for February 28th that was subsequently canceled, not by me, by others. I don't understand how this plan will work when the driveway access was paved at an angle to my property that has a depression with no concern as to how the water flows. The inlets, as proposed on this plan, are in the grass areas. The water is coming from Eck Road. It's coming from the Banco Beverage driveway. It's coming from the driveway for their warehouses south of the railroad tracks. I have video. I have hydrant. This is all that no resident should have this kind of folder on a land development project. It's not my project, but I'm the victim. I'm sorry. This plan might work, as my engineer stated. It could very well work if the existing driveway, my existing driveway, is reprofiled to match the access driver they built when they realigned the road. I told them 7 years ago when they started this process, there's a lot of water across the street. There's a lot of water. And when you realign it, that's why the Pidcock company, God bless them for requiring a curb on my side of the road, or I'd be a pond at this point. So my engineer said if the entire driveway is reprofiled the same way they did for Banco Beverage, and they did it, took out the depression, that actually makes it flood worse when the water flows off of the Banco property onto the Eck Road where there's no inlet. And we'll get to your comment about road excavation. So my question is, first of a series of questions, is What happens when the water continues to pond and flood my property after this is all done? Where do we go from there? Is it on the township because it's the township's right away? I don't know. Will the inlets be tied into the existing 2 inlets, one of which was installed by their contractor, the Schlauch Company, when that foreman said at the time, you have a major engineering problem. You need to have Black Creek fix the angle suits. That was 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point. Since this is in the township rights of way, it's right by trees. Who is responsible for the maintenance and perpetual care of these inlets and the mowing of the grass around it so that the water is perpetually captured there? I was willing to take it on when it was the other design that was actually putting inlets into the driveway. Somewhere between October and November, that changed. And then in January, I get this plan. That's not what we agreed to. So, since the potential for my basement and foundation of my garage and my home to continue, will I be able to drain my flood water into these inlets that are being constructed? I previously had permission from the township that expired in January, and it was not granted an extension. So I have that concern. Who will be constructing this? And if it's not the township, will there be an employee of the township, South Whitehall Township, on site during the construction? We had issues with confrontations and harassment by contractors. When a family member complained about a school bus stop that was being flooded, you were all copied on that email going back to August of last year. I'm very concerned about contractors' behavior. Who's going to take care of any dirt, mud? My neighbor, Mr. Pushkar, is in the back. We lived through a hell. Mr. Bender is well aware of the mud that was on the road, and I can't deal with that anymore. So, and finally, as Manager Petrucci said, it was noted that the street excavation ordinance is not applicable due to curbs and sidewalks. Well, stormwater inlets are not curbs, sidewalks, or gutters as defined by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or the Federal Highway Administration. So I don't understand how you can actually go into the road and install stormwater systems that don't exist now, because there's an inlet on that shown on that plan that does not exist in the cartway of the road right now. That's going to have to be built. So I just disagree with that one, but that's not a question. That's more of a statement. So I appreciate you listening. I think a lot of this could have been handled during an on-site visit. Unfortunately, I work a lot during the months of March to August, and I get home around 6:40 at night. I'm available weekend, and in fact, I'm available right now. We can go out there and take a walk if you want, but I know you won't. So I would appreciate you tabling this to a time where we can meet and discuss these questions. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry I went over 5 minutes.
Thank you for your questions and your comments this evening. I'll ask the developers team if you have any follow-up comments.
I'm going to keep it relatively simple as far as the response to that. There's a long history of communication between this applicant and the property owner and the township. And, you know, there were times where it was very productive. But ultimately, and unfortunately, there was never an agreement arrived at between the property owner and the developer. So I apologize for any miscommunication that Mr. Height was feeling or experiencing, but we thought we were being relatively transparent about everything through this process, and just were not able to get to an agreement. We needed to have access to the property in order to do anything within the property, and we did not receive approval for access to the property. So the resolution then turned into one that could be taking place in the township right of way instead. And we had engineers, I mean, this has been a long process. And I'm not sure how much of that history the board has been apprised of, but I've been involved with this for a number of years, and my introduction into this project was relative to Mr. Height's property, and it's been years. So we're here today to try and, to table this would be, just rather unfortunate, because we finally have made some progress where we have engineers who have come up with a solution. Township engineer has reviewed and approved that solution. And this is all being, done above and beyond, as the township manager explained in his remarks in the introduction, above and beyond what was called for on the approved plan. This is, I know the township manager used the term necessary and prudent, and it is considered necessary and prudent by this applicant in the nature of neighbor relations. And this is not going to be a cheap concession that's being made, but nevertheless, and to answer that part of the question that Mr. Height posed, the construction and the cost of this will all be, bared by the applicant. So, they will be paying for it, they will be constructing it, and this is the proposal that we have before you to try and correct the problem, and once and for all, hopefully control, some of what Mr. Height is experiencing. If there are any technical questions, though, the engineers, we have him here to be able to answer that.
Thank you. I'll ask Township Manager if you have any comments.
I just want to indicate that, we are collectively working on the responses to the questions posed by Mr. Height, one of which we can answer now. We will have township staff available during the construction. We had already proactively anticipated that. As far as everything else, we're working through the questions, and we'll get a response. Some of the questions, which I'd also received via written correspondence late last week, I was not personally familiar with. So I needed to consult, a few internal parties to try to review the materials at hand. So I want to make sure I get those comprehensive responses to Mr. Height.
Very good, thank you. And I'll ask our Township Solicitor if you have any additional comments.
No, certainly if there are any questions, I'm glad to respond, but I have nothing to add to what's already been stated.
Very good. And Township Engineer, any additional comments?
No addition.
Very good. This time I'll open it to the board if there are any questions on the presentation or the action before us this evening. None. Is there any further public comment? Yes.
Once again, Brian Height, 1273 Eck Road. I would like to ask the engineer, how many times were temporary or proposed fixes installed, berms, regrading of the area of the 1293, that were going to fix this problem and didn't fix the problem?
1293 referring to the
South Whitehall building. They don't own the property, they own the building. So there was a berm installed that you approved that said it was going to stop the flooding, and it didn't. And in fact, it accelerated. And that's another question. Will that whole area be regraded and re-topsoiled? Because right now there's rocks sticking out of it. And Captain Brown's police department has a dozen police reports of damage caused by lawnmowers hitting, and now nobody cuts the grass. The township doesn't cut it. I cut it occasionally because it has caused damage to vehicles. It's broken a window out of a garage door, and if this township had topsoil out in front of this building, you'd all be at rate. So, but my question is, why didn't the other ones that the engineers said would going to work not work? I think it's a legitimate question because I got files. And I do have documents from there. Sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
I'm just running crazy.
There was a site visit years ago. I don't know exact date, Brian. That we looked.
I was there.
That we looked into that driveway to potentially sump the uphill side or put a berm on the downhill side. There's also thought to drop an inlet in that location, if you remember. It was not done, but I think that this solution to collect all that water in that area will substitute for what that one inlet would do. I think I believe that was the only time that I was out there.
You're saying the berm wasn't installed?
I think it was brought out 1 foot. The inlet was not dropped in that location. That's correct.
And okay, I'll leave it at that because my main question goes right back to the question of what happens when it continues to flood. I can't live this way anymore.
I can just answer why we're not cutting the grass, Brian. My guys will not go past the private property signs that are up.
Well, that's because I own a little piece there, as you're well aware. But I don't want your guys damaging my vehicles again. And you know what the topsoil looks like out there. So.
Well, we either could come up with an agreement how we can cut it. Like I can tell you Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays, we will be there. That's when we cut all the water stations. I can figure out what day so you know. And then if you could please not park your cars right next to the grass area right there, and I will make sure it gets cut on that day.
Sometimes I got to park them there or they get flooded.
Okay, well.
Yeah. This all goes back 7 years ago when the township refused to vacate the road when it got realigned. This would all be my problem right now because I would own it. But now the township owns 60 feet of right of way. That's basically my driveway that's flooding me out. So, but the township was adamant. And I appreciate the attorney's involvement over the last several years, but I've lived this longer, and I think the only one up there is Solicitor Zader that's been here as long as this project started. Way back when Mr. Clapper was here and various managers. So, thank you. I guess I'm just flooded out. So.
Are there any other public comments? Is there anyone online with any comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Is there a motion to proceed with the motion for the stormwater improvements proposed by developer applicant for Crockersport Road and Eck Road warehouses?
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then item 9B, we have a motion to approve deferral request for one improvement line item regarding Crockersport Road and Eck Road warehouses. And Tom, if you'd present.
Thank you. So the applicant developer, QR Allentown DC LLC, for the Crockersport Road and Eck Road warehouses project has submitted a request to defer one improvement line item, which is as follows. For the Eck Road and Chapman's Road intersection, the item B3 on the Pidcock inspection update requires once the utility companies remove or relocate the existing guy wire, install remainder of concrete sidewalk on the west side of Eck Road. So per the request of the developer, the item requires coordination with multiple utility providers. So essentially the guy wire has to be moved and then the sidewalk can be installed. So the applicant's requesting that we consider to allow the maintenance period for the main project for the overall improvements to commence, and then to pull out that piece of sidewalk as a separate 18-month maintenance agreement. So there'd be two maintenance agreements of 18 months for the project with adequate security for the sidewalk as well. So basically, at this point, township staff has received it, and given the timing, we're recommending at this point you take it under advisement, because maybe the utility work will get done before the June 30th deadline, and then if not, then we could come back and you could consider it. So I would request you take it under advisement and table it. That would be the recommendation, but I note the applicant's here. If you'd like to add anything out further, that would be the recommendation at this time.
Excellent, very good.
Yes, thank you. Since we were here this evening, we just thought we'd at least introduce this notion. We understand that this is not ready to go into maintenance as an overall development just yet, but our deadline is June 30th. And with respect to every other item, as you can see from the punch list, which actually were attached to the previous item in the agenda, everything else is in really good shape to meet that deadline and, in fact, be ahead of that deadline. This one, however, we're just not getting cooperation. PPL has to get out and move it, and then there are other two utility providers that need to come and do their part before the sidewalk can be repaired. And it's really just one square of sidewalk that we're talking about. So we introduced the notion to staff. They seemed like, it was something that could be considered. It was just a matter of really how to handle it, how to paper it properly. One of the ideas is to have this 18-month, separate 18-month period run for just the sidewalk, if in fact it isn't completed along with the rest of the improvements when we're ready to put them into maintenance. But I also offer as another alternative, since it is such a small item, that perhaps we will post a cash escrow for that sidewalk in the event that it's not completed within the 18-month period for the overall development. Because it just seems like it would be burdensome to have a whole separate 18-month maintenance period for everyone to keep track of, really, for just that small section of sidewalk. So those are the offerings, just to treat that one item, being that the rest of the development should be ready and primed for us to be able to come to you and seek maintenance period treatment. That will be the only one that most likely won't be ready. So we just wanted to get thoughts and see if the board would be agreeable to something like that.
Thank you. Taking into consideration the comments from township staff and your comments, I would concur with township staff that it would be prudent to take this under advisement and table this motion this evening. I don't know what the other board members feel.
And we don't normally take something, individual thing out for the maintenance.
No.
Right? So this would be an exception to what we normally do.
That would be correct. So,
yeah, I would agree. I'd rather if we get to that point where it becomes necessary, but until then, I'd rather table it. But thank you for presenting this as an option, and we'll take it under consideration at the appropriate time.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll talk to staff in the meantime. I think we have a meeting tomorrow.
Very good. I need a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It's tabled for this evening. If you'd like to make a comment, you may come up.
Ryan Height, 1273 Eck Road. That section of sidewalk is a federal violation. The Americans with Disabilities Act, right now, a handicapped person would not know that the sidewalk is interrupted there. The same thing happened at the railroad tracks. There needs to be some sort of permanent barrier there. They used to have tape and now it's broke. And I'm just saying that there should be some sort of signage that says or indicates to a person with a disability that the sidewalk is not passable at that point. And also that pole and those lines have been there for a long time, so I don't know. another engineering mishap, I guess. But the Americans Disability Act is very clear on that subject. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your comment. Agenda item 9C, we have a motion to approve a request for a waiver on street moratorium for 2124 Belmont Street in Allentown. I'll ask Director of Operations Herb Bender to present.
Thank you. We came last meeting about lifting the moratorium at 2124 Belmont Street. After having further discussions with UGI, there was a little miscommunication from them. They do have to extend the main to the resident's house 20 feet and then tie the service into the house. So with that having to be done, UGI has agreed to anything they dig up to do a $500,000 and overlay. As us lifting the moratorium, they are more than willing to do that. So Public Works would support lifting the moratorium with the extra work UGI has agreed to do to restore the road.
That's very good news. Thank you, Herb. Will South Whitehall be involved in inspecting once they've done the paving?
Yes, I personally go out myself. I coordinate with Mark Choi from UGI when that's going to take place. And yes, we will check on that.
Very good. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions?
Herb, I think during the discussion last time, we were going to check to see if anybody else wanted to hook up to gas so that after they hook up, you know, the next door neighbor doesn't come and say, hey, did we do any follow-up with that?
Yes, I did do follow-up with that. On this, they can't tell me going down the block. They can only give me from the 20-foot extension. They won't, because of security reasons, they won't get into that. But on this 20-foot section, no one else can tie in.
But they can't, could somebody ask them to extend it further to get to their home?
There possibly could be one more on the other side of the street, which I'm sure if they did come in, we could work with UGI on the $500,000 of the other side also.
Okay. I just wanted, I know we talked about.
But I would just add, in general, I'm not in favor of lifting the street moratoriums just for the sake of the roads. But I will say, because obviously there's no fault on the part of the resident here, she initiated, you know, this hookup through proper channels. It was a communication issue with UGI, and the fact that UGI is willing to step up and perform the work, this would be, I think, an appropriate instance in which to waive the moratorium, recognizing that, you know, we don't just waive it for everybody, for the sake of the quality of our roads.
And certainly a half-width paving is the best solution to this as well. So thank you, Herb, for working on that. Any other comments from the board? Is there any public comment? Seeing and hearing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item 9D, we have a motion to award bid number 2025-04 Pole Barn Project to Dutchman Contracting LLC in the amount of $514,846. And Herb, if you'd present.
Yes. On Monday, April 14, 2025, 2 bids were received and opened for the pole barn project. This bid was publicly advertised once in a local publication as required by law. Additionally, 4 potential bidders attended the pre-bid meeting and site visit. Additionally, 50 potential bidders viewed and downloaded documents from the Penn Bid website. This bid was approved for advertisement by the Board of Commissioners at the March 19th, 2025 meeting. So just so you know, Public Works will be doing the drainage work around the building. We will be cutting in the driveways, and the water and sewer will be brought in by Public Works. The water will be run all the way into the building by us, and we will connect the sewer to the oil separator. And then the contractor will set the oil separator, then we'll connect the sewer pipe there all the way into the floor drain system that will be in the building. That cost comes to about $35,153.79 that Public Works will be doing. I have also spoke to UGI already. They are willing to do the install of the gas service line for us at no charge, long as Public Works will trench it for them so they don't have to bring a full crew. there's no problems with that. We'll already be trenching for the water in the sewer, so we can just incorporate that. The only other price I am still waiting for is from PP&L to bring the power drop in. That is in the design stage right now. I did have a site meeting 2 weeks ago with the gentleman. So once I have that price, I can come back to the board to let them know that price of that whole thing. So the action we were respectfully requesting is a motion to award the contract to Dutchman Contracting for the pole barn. After conducting thorough reference checks, the company has been highly recommended for their exceptional work. The bid for the pole barn came in at $514,846. In the capital lines for general, we did budget $550,000, and in the water capital, we did budget $150,000. So a total of $700,000, with bringing the water into the project also, and the other work, blacktop for the driveways, brings the total to $549,999.79. And then just the additional work that we have to do with PP&L yet. We gave PP&L the same option. If we trench it, will that help our price? We went through everything with them, so.
Fantastic. Herb, thank you for your management of this project, for working with Public Works to get some of the work done in-house. We appreciate you always going the extra mile on these projects, and we're thankful for the Public Works participation in this. So thank you. Looking forward to this project coming to fruition. I know it's been on the burner for a little while here, so thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions?
My only comment is you and everyone at Public Works deserves this. You deserved it for a long time, and I'm glad you're finally getting it.
And I'm happy that our equipment will be stored indoors.
Yes, that'll help prolong the life of it.
And that's always a win. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to see this finally happen. Should have been done with Reno a long time ago. So I'm really happy that it's coming to fruition.
Thank you.
Any public comment? None. Do I have a motion to approve said motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item 9E, motion to approve an extension of the contract with A1 Traffic Control LLC for 2025, effective June 8th, 2025 to June 7th, 2026. And Herb, if you'd present.
Sure. In 2023, the board approved the contract with A1 Traffic Control on behalf of the Lehigh Valley Cooperative Budget Purchasing Council for pavement markings. A1 has agreed to hold the pricing for 2025, and we feel with the uncertainties of materials and fuel costs, this would be the best option for South Whitehall Township and LVCPC participating members. The agencies listed in the contract feel it is the best interest to extend the contract. Those agencies are the City of Allentown, Bethlehem Township, Lower Saucon Township, Palmer Township, and Whitehall Township. So the action we're requesting is a motion to approve extending the contract with the same pricing held for 2025.
Excellent. Thank you. Any board comments or questions? Any public comment? Do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence and information. Tom, if you'd present.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events are as follows. Saturday, May 10th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the annual Youth Fishing Derby at the Covered Bridge Park. As noted earlier this evening, the week of May 11th to May 17th is National Police Week. Monday, May 12th, 7 p.m. is a Parks and Recreation Board meeting. Tuesday, May 13th, 6 p.m. is a Crime Watch meeting. Wednesday, May 14th, 10 a.m. is a Civil Service Commission meeting. Thursday, May 15th, 7 p.m. is the Planning Commission. Saturday, May 17th, 8 a.m. is the Clean Earth South Whitehall Electronics Recycling event, which was rescheduled and is being held at Covered Bridge Park. Monday, May 19th, 6 p.m. is the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission. Monday, May 19th, 7 p.m. is the Environmental Advisory Council. And Wednesday, May 21st, 7 p.m. is the Board of Commissioners. Please check the Township website for updates.
Excellent. Busy couple of weeks coming up. Thank you, Tom. We have no direction, discussion, of old business, courtesy of the floor. Again, opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Does anyone wish to address the board? Is there anyone online with a public comment? Very good. I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have no exec session to schedule. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.